Oh, I need my list.
That's what I'm bringing up too. My
I
list.
have mine right here.
Hey everyone, we are LDG. I am Brooks, and I cannot get this piece of hair out of my face.
I am Kitty, and I just embrace it and let the hair stay in my face when it happens.
I am Lizzy.
Yeah, we are here for another top 10-ish. It's I don't know, we haven't, I guess, we're ranking stuff. We haven't come up with a solid title yet, but we like LDG ranks.
I like LDG ranks. I think it works.
What are we doing this week, guys?
Top 10 one-car copy wonders.
Is that one of that's on your list? One card wonder?
No, it is not, although we have played it with one copy.
Yeah, it would be a good one.
It would be. Yeah, one copy wonders. Games that anyone who's looking into doing remote gaming and wants to stray away from the simulator apps like Tabletopia or Tabletop Simulator, wants to be corny like us, super geeks, and play with just our physical copies, this is how we do it. And these are our list of games that you really only need one for everyone to be satisfied. You don't need every single person that's on Zoom or on Skype or whatever with you to have a copy.
And you know what I want to say really quickly as well is I think a lot of these games are also really great sort of intro to gaming in general almost. Because
maybe you don't know what's on our list.
Yeah, maybe that's your list.
On my list, I try to focus a little bit on ease of play. I start off with the hardest to translate to remote play, and then get to the easiest. I know, but I just thought it would be interesting because I think, it's a really cool way to maybe get some friends or family that normally aren't gamers into gaming.
Nice.
As well.
Yeah, mine's kind of focused on different kinds of mechanics, and it's not necessarily in a top 10. I don't know if I would say. It's not exactly a perfect order, but definitely games that we've had great experiences with only one copy, or that will translate well to other people who just need a pad of paper or a whiteboard or a couple little things to make it feel like they have the game in front of them.
Yep, I probably went with more Brooksy than with Kitty, although most of mine are fairly light as far as the weight of the games go. And then I ordered mine how easy it is to do remotely.
Yeah, you're definitely the middle child this time.
So y'all ready to get started yet?
If you only knew what was just cut out. Yes, we are. Okay, Kitty, you're kicking us off.
So my number 10 is something that we played recently with one copy, and it is Euphoria.
Oh.
So this
so
is
good.
Yeah, it's really good. It's sort of a bigger game. You might not at first think of it as a one copy for remote play.
Yeah, but it works.
Yeah, and especially for our end without the copy. I mean, Lizzy, I know you had a lot more work to do on your end, but would you like to speak about how that was for you?
So yeah, generally when we do one copy, as Liz is going to pick up and probably explain gameplay, one person, the person who has the game in front of them will be the game runner and kind of help the other people along. And you kind of just have to be prepared for that. So this is how Liz kind of does it.
Yeah, I actually have a how to play remotely on Euphoria. So, but basically it's actually really easy because you can other sides will have 6-sided dice because the game just comes with 6-sided dice. They look cool, but they're still just normal D6s. So they can roll those, and then other than that, it's just you place them where they say they want to place them, and you keep track of their resources, just like a normal player would, just right on the side of the board so that they can easily see it. Ask questions if there's any. It's really a great one. I didn't even think of this one because I think I made my list before we played it.
I'm telling you what, this game was... So Kitty and I played it with Liz we did not have the copy on this one.
It still felt so immersive and cool.
Liz just positioned the camera looking right at the board. Mm-hmm. We could see everything and we understood everything that we had to do. She sent us a few pictures. That's all it took to play it. Yeah. Super easy learning curve. And a couple cards to keep track of, not hardly anything.
No, just your recruits, I think it's the word, right, Lizzy?
Yeah, the people that were... I forget what they're actually called, but probably recruits, but the ones that you were trying to, there were the Icarites, the Wastelanders, and you had those specific cards. like you had to remember one of them because they were upside down, sometimes two, and then your ethical dilemma card. You had to remember that, so it wasn't too much at all.
A couple to a few faction cards, your ethical dilemma, and then that's about it.
And it's amazing how much just something like a D6 on our end like adds to our feeling of immersion as well.
We kind of always suggest for people who are doing one copy remote play, have a grab bag of like, just have some dice, a pad of paper, or a dry erase board, maybe some little tokens or chips of some kind.
Or, you know, a boogie board.
We're not sponsored by them, but as much as Liz shops them out, we should do.
Exactly.
Which is essentially a glorified Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a glorified whiteboard, I would say. Because it's like a one button gets rid of it all.
And a whiteboard had a baby, yeah. So,
nice.
Okay. Well, that means we're jumping to me.
Yes.
My list on here, so I have to check it because my memory is about this long. Yeah, so my 10 might surprise you guys a little bit, but it is paperback.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to start off by saying I understand there's an app version. We're doing this strictly based on physical copies. It kind of creates that connection between the group of people, so it feels like we're still in the room playing games together, and we're not just in the dark on our phone, laying on our bed, playing on an app with our friend across the country. It makes us feel like we're having an actual game night. So, if you're into this kind of game, which I know a lot of people are, word games, Scrabble's still huge to this day. Right. There's a ton of word games in the actual like tabletop gaming industry. This is one of our favorite. This in hardback for Kitty and I.
Yeah, lovely.
It's an easy one because you just would have to have the camera pointing just at the spread every time that you have for people, and you could keep track of someone's cards for them
and shuffle
for them. It's one of the learning curves that we have to do for a lot of games, where someone has to take care of the decks of cards. Like, for instance, Liz, if you could explain how you took care of the decks of cards for Red Rising the first time we played. That's an all-card game.
Oh, yeah, you put them up to the camera when they're wanting to look at them. So when it's Brooks's turn, I'll take Brooks's hand and put it up, and it'll be in a card holder. And then, other than that, I would just shuffle it, like the actual deck, just shuffle it, put it out. If they want to see a specific card, you just hold it up to the camera. Sometimes take a picture of all of them at the very beginning of the game, especially when there's a whole lot of new information all at once. And then you just go from there. It's
as simple as just counting the cards off. So Liz doesn't even have to look at our deck for us to go, we want to play that and then name the card.
Right.
We just count over. We pick a predetermined direction to count every time. And so we'll count from left to right or whatever. And we'll be like, play number 4. And so she'll count over 4 and pull out our 4th card, and it's that simple.
Yep.
She doesn't have to look at her hands. Yeah. She doesn't have to know extra information. It's just like we're playing objectively in the room together.
And another really great thing about paperback in particular is all of the information's public. Everybody knows what cards people buy.
The market's constantly public.
Your hand.
The upgrade cards, or what are they called? The magazines you buy or whatever.
Yeah, the magazines.
All of that can just be on display on camera, and the only thing that you'll have to constantly show is the hand, but that's an easy thing to have. Like Liz said, we swear by card holders. Liz, I don't know if you have any near you, but
we have this version and this version.
Yeah, I like the tiered version. That's for big card games with hands.
Lots of cards.
But they're just cheap. That little one she's holding in her hand, the 1-row one.
Yeah.
It's angled like that, so it doesn't tip over easy. And she just picks that sucker up, holds it up to the camera. We see our cards. Yeah, it's that easy. I think cards tend to scare people away from playing remotely. It seems like something that's a lot more difficult than it is. It's just a learning curve. So for people who like word games, I think paperback would be a really solid choice.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not a fan of word games, but I totally see how easily this would be able to be played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Lizzy, hit us.
So my number 10 is a game that I had a copy of and they did not. Seems to be a trend in this.
That doesn't whittle it down. You influence all the money I spend. I just want to say that.
It is an economic empire building game.
Oh, huh. Do you build things?
Yeah.
Really? I still don't think you build things in this game.
I still don't think so either.
It is Concordia, and the biggest thing is the map, getting the map in the shot and the screen. We just take a picture of it after everything's set up, because each of the city can change. But then you can just refer to how you want to go around based on the city and, botch the names up really bad. But other than that, it's just like you keep track of your resources are public. The cards, just card holder.
And that's absolutely one of our favorite games.
Oh, absolutely.
In the top right corner of the board, it is kind of difficult to see the resources. Liz can tell you what we do, which we have another little thing we should endorse, right?
Yeah. Dry erase token. So this would just be for the dollar amount that is left over, or what you could get if you choose the dollar amount. And then if they want a specific resource, I would tell them which areas have that resource in, and then point to them on the board, so that way it's easier to see.
So what she's referring to is there's this little circle in the top right corner if you haven't ever played Concordia, or Concordia Venus specifically is our favorite, which is why we always show it. And there's a little circular thing that's divided into the different regions and what they specialize in. And if you do an action there, you'll get that resource, and there's deeper rules than that. But like she said, each little slice of this pie refers to another section, and it also grows in monetary value. So something as small as those little dry erase tokens, which I'm telling you what, we should take stock in. Those things are amazing.
Yeah, they are awesome. And they can be get on Amazon, too.
Yeah. Little tiny chips you can throw on any board, and they can really help you number or letter things that you need to quickly refer to. So,
exactly.
Love it. Good pick.
Definitely love it.
Yeah.
Mine is going to be a shocker to everybody, because it's something somebody's already said. And I do love paperback, and I wish I would have thought of it, but it is not paperback.
Looky there.
It is Concordia.
I was thinking that you were saying paperback, because that's what it was, but yay, my pick.
She beat you by one number, though.
See, it's just Concordia is really in my I think my second favorite game of all time as of now, probably. And the second that we started playing it with Lizzy, even without a copy, I fell in love with it. And being the side without a copy, the one thing that really helped me with Concordia and with a lot of other games is keeping just, a little pad of paper and a pencil specifically, because in Concordia you have your hand that you can get back with your tribute card. So you can just sort of, erase it. I suppose you could with the boogie board, too.
A list of the cards and then little check marks when you've used them, and then just erase your check marks on your next round.
Yeah, and it's stuff like that really helps me sort of stay in the zone, so to speak, strategically. And I think that's another really cool little hack for remote play.
So y'all know this is one of my favorite games ever. It is not on my list for a very specific reason that you guys probably already know why. So for me, it's a little more difficult for me to play remotely without us having a copy, because I am partially colorblind. So what happened is I could not tell some of the districts apart. And Liz, luckily, had candy laying around, and she used Kit Kats as dividers between the regions, because I couldn't see the dotted lines. So if that's an issue with you, that's how we actually got around that. For me, I still think it's super simple to play remotely with only one copy. It just didn't make mine because we had to hack it for me that way. That's the only reason. So,
well, it was a delicious hack.
It was. Right. And then when we were done playing the game, you ate the dividers, and then we didn't have them the next time we played.
I could have kept the wrappers, or I could have gotten more.
But for real, how lucky that the Kit Kat was right there. I mean, what were the odds, right?
Very, very low.
What were the odds that Liz had candy in her game room?
To be fair, I don't have any candy within reach. It's all the way over there.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, no.
What a hard life. Okay, anyway, moving on to my next one is actually Queen Domino.
Oh.
So, I'm obsessed with tile-laying games. I'm obsessed with anything that has to do with kind of, I'm a Carcassonne addict. I love the different Carcassones. So it kind of gives you a more condensed version of Carcassonne. Not exactly, but you get that kind of tile placement and that fulfillment from that aspect on a much smaller scale, which is nice when you're trying to when you're the one that has the only copy and you're trying to fit it all in the frame for the other person.
Yeah, that's why I think I would go more towards King Domino than Queen Domino. But
I like Queen Domino better.
For me, I mean, I love Queen Domino. For me, when I want to play one of them, I want just the simple experience.
Really?
Yeah, I know it's weird. I prefer to go simpler on that range of games.
I include the family in this pick because I barely distinguish between the two. Just a little complexity bump is about it. But either Queen or King Domino, I just think Queen Domino is fabulous.
I was going to say, I always prefer Queen myself.
But yeah, I just think that it's a good way to get a nice tile laying experience, which can be daunting if you only have one copy to people. Yeah. But yet again, Liz is the master of sending us photos when we need, and it can be really interactive. Even if you don't like to draw or something, like Kitty is not an artist by any stretch of the imagination, but almost every time we play a game like that, she'll sketch a grid or she'll draw out her layout or her tableau or whatever, and
it'll look abstract, but it helps.
So it's essentially like we have a copy of the game, it's just a different type. It's almost like a roll and write or something. We have our own version.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, so if you need to keep track of any of the little bits of information on each tile that's flipped and placed, you can do that. You can just have a grid and draw grids out, and you know what I mean? It's finding creative hacks to make games you really love work, especially in a time. I mean, we were doing this long before the pandemic hit, but luckily we're able to kind of help other people who maybe can't be with their gaming groups as often right now know how to still play their favorite games. So I think this fills that little tile niche pretty well, and it's not super overcomplicated. So
I agree. And my number 9 is a hidden movement game.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, my favorite.
It is not your favorite, Kitty.
Oh, okay.
It is a more streamlined version.
It's the stepsister. It's the unwanted stepchild.
The Whitehall Mystery, which I chose this over Whitechapel. Letters from Whitechapel, simply because it's a more condensed board and it gives like a higher infusion on a shorter time. So for someone who doesn't have copies, you could go to Board Game Geek and find prints out of the map for if you want to be Jack. But it's also a quicker infusion, a smaller board, so the details are easier to be seen through the screen. So that's why I went this one.
We've played Whitechapel remotely before.
Oh, many times. It's just we all have a copy of it.
So what happens is, since we all have a copy, it's easy for us to refer to. So Liz and I, Kitty could be Jack, and Liz and I could be on the same team and easily strategize because we both have a board to look at.
Right.
And that board is massive with hundreds of little bubbles with numbers on it. Whereas, just like Liz was saying, Whitehall is a little more condensed, a little more chill, and it has kind of regions that feel like kind of the separate regions, kind of. So it's a little easier to refer to. So don't be scared away from hidden movement.
Exactly. Like Spectre Ops would be a good one, too, because every square is numbered lettered. I don't know.
We played that. Only having a copy.
Yeah, and
what's the other one? Escape from the Aliens of Outer Space?
Yeah, although I sent you guys the flip things for those, the flip booklets.
That's perfect. You can email your friends any kind of resources they need for the game, and they don't have to have a copy of the game. They can just print themselves out a little resource sheet, and they've got the game in front of them.
Yeah, exactly.
That Board Game Geek, too, the idea to check there, like, I always check there now for literally every game, because there's so many extra resources in that file section.
Yeah, and you find tons of fan-made print and plays for your roll and writes.
Oh, yeah.
That, too, yep.
Don't judge us.
No judgment here.
Kitty.
So, my next one is, you spoke about the recent pandemic in real life. So mine happens.
I wonder what's coming.
The pandemic.
Oh,
Liz hates it,
I know, right?
She hates this game.
You guys are going to be surprised. This is not on my list.
Oh,
okay.
Wow.
It's a really great game. I love it. Obviously, it's my number 2 game of all time, and I'm the pandemic queen. Just kidding. Why is it on your list? And I'll say why it's not on mine after.
Why it's on my list is slightly nostalgic, because it was like one of the first games I sort of like backseat played remotely with you guys playing when I lived in New York before you moved here. And I was already kind of into it, like even just kind of like watching it without playing yet. And I feel like it's something, it's a really great co-op game. So it's also really great if you're just starting out to play remote. And getting used to ideas, like you don't need to worry about, hidden hands or anything like that. All of the information's public. And yeah, I just think it's really immersive. And if you get into it, God knows there's several, expansions and variants and the legacy. So yeah, that's why I picked it.
Yeah, go ahead and check out our ranking video.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but the reason why it's not on my list was our play of Season 0 when we first did the prologue before you guys had a copy. I felt like I was quarterbacking. I felt like I was the alpha gamer. And I feel like that could be a really big problem with Pandemic in general. And so that's why it's not on my list.
Exactly. When it comes to Pandemic, and as you can tell, before you played, Liz and I had played it a ton before we brought you in to play with it when we first started playing games with you, is if you know the game and you're with another person that knows the game really well, it's this kind of, you're used to the shorthand of strategy and what you should do. And so it's so easy to be like, well, I really think we should do this and do this and do this. And the other person says, yeah, and then maybe we should probably focus on this, this, and this. Whereas the other person is like,
yeah, I know.
Do you guys want to tell me why? And so if you don't have a copy, you can kind of feel that way sometimes. But again, I think if you all know how to play it, it definitely would belong on the list. Like I would feel comfortable putting it on a list if everyone in the group was very good at playing it and you all knew the map. But yeah, if it's just like Liz said, when we did the intro to 0, we didn't have a copy yet. Poor Liz was having to say, no, this connection's here. No, this is closer. This makes more sense.
Yeah.
So,
Although Cthulhu's a smaller map, so Pandemic Cthulhu might be a great one for remote play. And the cities are like, you just have Arkham, for instance. You don't have, your yellows aren't divided into Lima and Santiago and those. You just have Arkham.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also feel really quick, like what you said and what Lizzy said reminded me of something I heard on the Shut Up and Sit Down podcast once about Matt was saying something like he enjoyed watching some friends of his or roommates or whatever that were playing Pandemic more than even playing it at one point because he got so used to the puzzle that like he felt like he kind of mastered it too much. So I feel like if you're a group maybe that's all new to it as well, you just have to be the same level. I feel like regardless of if you're seasoned
or adjust your level so that you understand.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
There's a learning group. So yeah.
Okay, but an amazing game. Love it.
I was gonna say, there's a reason why it's Liz's first, second, third, fourth, sixth, 20th favorite game. It's the whole. There's like 20 versions of
16,
it. So.
Including the expansions.
Okay, well, my next one is one that we recently just got into, Kitty and I. We have yet to introduce Liz to it, but I really think she'll like it. It's an aspect of gaming that isn't Liz's favorite.
So it's a rolling, right?
No.
Oh.
But I think this aspect of this genre of gaming does really speak to her because she's all about programming and mathy and dice and things like that. It is Role Player.
Yes.
You guys?
Yes.
I own this and I've played it.
What? And you haven't played it with us yet? Oh my god.
And I own the expansion. I really like this game. It's a really good one.
Okay, look, we have been, best friends for decades, and we still learn stuff every single day. And to be fair, there are probably in the range of near, 4 digits of games in that woman's room.
Yeah, it's like 600.
Oh, just that's it.
That's meh.
Yeah, exactly. That's like nothing.
we have around 500 in our little New York apartment. So, like,
we're about to use the oven soon.
Sometimes we discover that we each have a game that the other didn't realize we had. So, but yeah.
But it's amazing.
Role player, I think if you love dice and you want something that feels different than a lot of the other super mainstream, really popular dice games, and if you're a lover or not of role-playing games, it's so much fun to program your characters, and it feels like a completely different type of resource management.
It does.
Very cool, very quick, very easy. You could literally just send people a picture of their board, and they could literally just write, like with their finger on their phone or their tablet or whatever, the number that's in the little squares that you have. Like, so many easy hacks. They could have their own D6s. They could print the sheet out, just roll their own D6s, put them there.
Yeah.
So many different options for people, whether you can print, can't print, just want to do it on your phone, tablet, paper, whatever. So lots of options, really fulfilling gameplay. Really quick game, too.
Really quick.
For as fulfilling as it is. I think we spent like a half hour playing it.
And that universe that's in Role Player and Cartographer, it's such a great, cool universe. Like,
exactly.
It's amazing.
Yeah, okay. I agree. It is a ton of fun. And did you get the expansion yet?
I have not yet, but now that I know you have it, add to cart.
Exactly. It adds some stuff. Like, it adds monsters that is just really fun to play.
There's a Kickstarter for their other, I backed it, their other series, the Escape from, it's like Escape from Prison or Prison Escape or something, or Escape from the Dungeon, or I forget exactly what it's called right now. Okay. I could check, but we'll pop it up on the screen.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, I have a funny feeling that my number 8 is going to be a 3-way crossover. This is one that we play a lot. We play, I don't know if we've actually played with one copy because we loved it so much when Brixie was still living in the not in the United States. You're still living in the United States. When you were still living in Ohio.
I raised my hand, thank you very much. I was being polite.
But I'm trying to be more spontaneous and just say what I mean.
We both know it's Parade. You can cut to the chase.
Yeah, it is Parade. The artwork is beautiful. Like, it's really easy. You can have the cards set up. If you have quality issues with your camera, you can of course use, dry erase tokens or even just a piece of paper and write the card's value on them, because you can see the differences in the colors in the character images pretty easily. And then, of course, your boogie board, you just write 1 through 5 and what your hand is, and then you say, okay, I want to play my number 3 card.
I love how you pronounce boogie board.
I know. Boogie.
Boogie.
Well, what else is it supposed to be pronounced?
I mean, boogie board, but boogie.
It has 2 O's.
So does booger.
Oh. Anyways, my number 8 is Parade. It is fun. It is awesome. Go play it.
So does boobs.
So
does boomerang.
I actually had a horrible oversight, and I'm enjoying your list of boo words.
Yeah.
But
this is not on your list?
Oh yeah, boo.
I did not include Parade boos.
Wait, specifically boo. It has 2 O's.
It does.
No, I love it. I want you to pronounce everything with 2 O's now, though, with a y.
Ooh.
Bew.
Boogie board? Okay, I'm confused.
So what is yours?
So I just said that I had a terrible oversight and didn't include Parade, which for shame me.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a 3-way crossover.
We only had to. Liz bought us another copy because we wore our other one out.
Like I said, it was a terrible oversight.
Yeah.
But my number 7 is a game that I think I enjoy infinitely more than both of you.
I was about to say, you better not say infinitely more than Parade, because what game is there?
Okay, if it's infinite...
I would say I do enjoy this game infinitely more
than Parade. If it's
Parade.
infinitely more than Liz and I think I know what it is.
Probably Fury of Dracula?
There are very few that we both dislike.
I'm not saying you guys dislike it per se. I'm just saying I think I enjoy it infinitely more. It's not Fury of Dracula. Okay. I played it first remotely with you guys only having the copy. It was a bigger group. It is Deception, Murder, and Haunt.
I love this one. What are you talking about?
I don't love it. I like it. So you got me there, but
yeah, I figured I got you at least. I wasn't quite as sure. I thought Lizzy maybe.
I do think it's a great version of that genre of gameplay for one copy remote playing, though. So I agree with your pick.
Yeah, I just think as one copy, like, I think a lot of the reason why I came to love it so much was even just being on the side without the copy that very first time I played it with you guys. You know, it was like with a bigger group. So this is a great game for bigger groups, I think. And it just feels so exciting to me. I mean, yeah, I love the theme, etc., but I just think it's such an exciting game. I love it so much.
It's also easier to have one copy for that because you can take a picture of the spread of cards, send it to everybody who doesn't have a copy of the game.
Exactly. And
even with the copy, I still prefer writing out what everybody has versus finding all the individual cards.
I was just going to say that too, since everything is, you know, a common item, you know, you can easily just be like, okay, box cutter or whatever, and you know you can just write it down as well. You don't necessarily need to see the art, whereas with something like Mysterium or whatnot, you need to see everything.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really great game to do remotely.
I agree.
And I even came up with a hack to play it with just 2 players, where you're basically just, you know, one side is definitely the murderer and one side is trying to investigate. I love it that much.
I like it.
Okay.
Good pick. Okay, so for mine, I was trying to think of how you could have a building-ish game.
Concordia.
That is not a building game.
It was for Favorite Game Friday.
Oh my god. The shtick is that Liz is just sold on the fact that you're building stuff in that game. You're not.
Your economy,
but we've let her have it. We've let her have it. I mean, physically building stuff with one copy and the other person feeling fulfilled. So where my brain took me was actually Agizia.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah, Shifting Sands, because I guess there's another version of Agizia.
Yeah, this is the reprinted one that is redone. Like, you can flip the board over if you got the Kickstarter version, and it's the original Agizia.
Wasn't it out like 1970s or something?
It's older. I don't remember the original release date.
But anyway, I think that this one lends itself to one copy gameplay if you want that feeling of building. Because, for instance, this game I'm about to mention is a super easy game to play, but it's very fulfilling for some reason. World Monuments is an incredible building game, but I don't think the other person would be as fulfilled. Well, I know they wouldn't without a copy, because we introduced it to Liz without her having a copy. She thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it without the copy. I just used Pandemic cubes to keep track of my individual colors. It was okay. I didn't...
But I feel like since like 90% of the focus of that game is on the actual building of the thing.
Yeah, the tactileness of it.
You still get a little bit of that, but without the person... See, because we built everything, and then we had all the tactile aspects. And yes, you had your Pandemic cubes to keep track of colors, which worked and made you enjoy the game, but you didn't get to build any.
Yeah, I wasn't able to actually, like, look around and see the best spot. Like, you guys had to take pictures and, like, angle the camera specific ways.
Exactly. So I feel like Agizia has that little feel of, you get to build a little bit of stuff. So the person who has the copy will have to build some stuff for you, or stack some stuff for you. Or, you know, build the little tableau, or any of the stuff that there's a lot of different aspects that you get to work on in Agizia. But they're not missing out on building a ton of stuff, so there's a lot more gameplay that they can do with other makeshift components, like Liz has mentioned in our prior examples, with tokens or post-its or printing stuff. Or there's lots of ways you can interact with that game, and plus it's a really good game.
It is.
Really satisfying.
I adore this one. I didn't think this is the first time we played it. We played it together with both of us having a copy. So for me, it's like we play it with all sides having a copy. So I didn't even think of it for this one. But yeah, it's a really good pick for it.
But I feel like this is one of the examples, very much like Euphoria. If we hadn't had a copy when you introduced it to us, we would have been just as enraptured by gameplay as if we had one ourselves. So that's why I think that's what makes them stand out a little bit more, just like Euphoria does, strictly because of that. So
yeah, I agree. And then a side note on Igizia is every card has like a number letter combo. So when you do play it remotely, you can refer to that little corner number card and then be able to easily grasp it for the side that is just the remote side, not the side running the game.
That's for if both.
Yeah, that's if all sides have a copy or multiple sides have a copy. Which, but yeah, I mean, so even multiple sides, it's a great one that is easily single copy or multi-copy.
Yeah, that's a godsend when that's in games because Liz can just be like C5, you know, 772, whatever the little notation is, and it helps.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, my number 7 is we're gonna go back to the basics. This is one that you could like take to a restaurant. I took it to something with dancing. I don't remember what that event was, but I remember playing it in a corner on the table with Brian.
Is it one we play all the time?
No, I don't know if you guys have actually played this. But all you would need is just to have a chart with the dice. Like, so this symbol on this represents a 1. And so the sides without a copy can roll a d6. And you're just trying to collect the gold. And it is King's Gold.
Oh, yeah, I played that with you in person before.
Okay.
That's a fun little, just like you said, restaurant game, which is great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if you're just, maybe you're having a dinner date with your significant other and, you know, you have the phone propped up on the other chair. I mean, people do that for long-distance relationships.
That's wonderful. And that's great to point out. Or like an opener or a closer game. Yeah. Because we do those all the time. Like,
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Great pick.
Well, thank you.
I have to play it. And I feel out of the loop.
And what you said about the dice chart is something really important that we actually utilize for a lot of games. Another big example is like Posthuman, where we'll have what the 1 through 6 on a regular basic D6 will mean in Posthuman terms or King's Gold terms. Yeah. Like a 1 means whatever. A 1 means attack. A 2 means a double hit. A 3 means miss.
Megaphone.
Yeah. Megaphone. That's a Posthuman joke because we're nerdy.
Yes, you are.
But yeah, that's another unique tool to remote gaming that has saved our lives and made gameplay like we're in the room.
Yeah, it's one that we used for King of Tokyo, because that's one that we've played remotely without you having a copy. Yep, it's pretty similar. Just King's Gold is a little bit faster. It's a little bit faster infusion of the dice rolling. So if I want to play a dice rolling game, I'd actually prefer King's Gold over King of Tokyo.
Nice. Sweet. All right, Kitay.
Okay, so my number 6 is probably going to not surprise anybody. It was on my top 10 of all time. It is Royals.
Oh.
Yeah. Another one that I had a copy of.
Honestly, that game is phenomenal.
Yeah, it is so good.
I still feel like it's kind of underrated.
Under?
Yeah.
Under.
Like, especially, I would think that it would be a little bit higher because it is in the Dice Tower Essentials, and with as big as Dice Tower is, you would think that a game that is in their essential, list would be. Yeah. I mean, it's produced under Arcane Wonders, so, I mean, Tom Bassel has put his name behind this game.
Stunning artwork, stunning gameplay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And like I talked about in our top 10 video, I could just feel the tension even without a copy. And I know that's partially thanks to how great Lizzy is at running the game.
So for people who don't know about this,
it's area control. And you're vying for majority influence throughout different countries in Europe. Backstab. And yeah, the best part is the backstab, where you can kind of plot and scheme, and you can like try to get a bunch of cards, and you have to use up more than you would otherwise, but you can get backstabby and get your royals or your areas back and take control back.
So hearkening back to the card holders that Liz had, her 3-tiered one would probably work best for this because your hand can get pretty big.
It can get really huge.
But luckily the cards are just color-coded.
Yeah, they just have the flags of the countries, I think, or different, on them. And I remember when we first played it, Lizzy, I think you only had the single file card holder.
Yeah, I think it was back in those good old days.
Yeah, because I remember we were getting up to like card 15, please, and it was like, oh god, but it was so worth it. So if you're into area control, especially, or just want a really good underrated game, definitely.
And for a game like that, where, like you just said, you have 15 cards, let's say. 5 of them are blue. I can't do math, so this is not going to add up to 15. 4 of them are red. 7 of them are green. Did that equal 15? That would be awesome.
No, it would have been 6.
That's close enough. Baker's dozen. You're worried about, let's say you're worried about the person running the game knowing which clump of cards are a color. So if I had 15 cards on my hand, I would keep the greens together, the reds together, the blues together, right? Well, you can just have a piece of paper on your end. Liz can have them scattered to the wind, whatever order they're in. And you can just say, like, I have a red section, a blue section, and a green section. In my red section, card 1, 7, and 15 are red. And it's that easy. Just write 1, 7, and 15 in your red section. That we're not constantly like, can you move that card to the left? Can you move that card over to the right? Which we actually tried doing that in the very, 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 very beginning of our...
Yeah, I remember being like, okay, I need you to move 3 to the 2 spot, 4 to the 7 spot.
And we were like, this is creating unnecessary time. Like, it's wasted. So it's like, why don't we just keep track of it as if I have the hand myself and just be like, all right, well, I want to play 15. So she just counts up a 15. It's that easy.
Yes. And you actually made me realize that I completely ethnos. I completely forgot about ethnos.
Don't worry. Really one of us didn't completely forget.
Oh, okay. At least it's on the list.
My next game just happens to be Mysterium.
I'm saying if it's ethnos, holy hell.
Even though you kind of crapped on Mysterium a little bit ago.
And I love Mysterium.
Saying it's not as user-friendly. I disagree, because I think what you can do if you're playing remote is pictures are one of our saving graces when it comes to playing remotely with one copy.
Oh, yeah.
Liz will line all of our reference information up in one little glob and then take a picture. And then we have everything in one area that we need. Or if it's our cards that we're going to have the rest of the game, she'll take a picture, reference sheets, whatever. With this, you could do that. You could make a grid of the 4, however many people, or the places, and just take a picture of them and send, and that person can have their iPad, their phone, their computer, whatever, zoom in on the picture, look at whatever they want, zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. Like,
do you accept a slight challenge from me on this one?
I'm a Leo. I accept all challenges.
I almost added this to mine, but I thought to myself, okay, you could probably only do it if you were the ghost having the copy. Can you think of a way for somebody without a copy to play the ghost?
Okay, that's a valid point. I do think it would be very difficult for remoters that do not have a copy to play the ghost. But honestly, I think if you're the one with the game and you're trying to play with a big group of people remotely, it's going to be more fulfilling anyway, because you're kind of wrangling everybody anyway.
Yeah.
If you want to make the experience easier on people, you'll just be the ghost. Like, it's just as fulfilling to be the ghost to me anyway.
Oh, I think it's more fulfilling.
I prefer to be the ghost when I play Mysterium.
Yeah, so someone who's, on the remote side, maybe they want to be the ghost.
I feel like, okay, you've challenged us. We're going to do a how to play remotely, and we're going to cover that. You've done it.
Maybe what I've done is I've just instigated a way to get to play Mysterium.
Yeah, she's been wanting to play it again for a while.
She just twisted me into it.
Pretty much. Okay. So, more like, instead of a challenge, she manipulated you.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was a valid challenge, though, right?
But I do that to you guys during gameplay all the time. So.
That you do. Although you cannot manipulate me in my pick.
Oh, I like with that segue.
It is a racing game where you have a hand of cards and you're just trying to select which ones you want to place down. It is Snowtails. So
cute.
Oh, it's adorable.
So like they move forward, like you have your left and your right side and then your brake. So you'll move forward, your left plus your right, and then minus your brake. If your left and your right are the same, you get bonus movements and you move straight. Otherwise, you kind of like tilt towards whichever one has the higher number. So it's really funny. You're just trying to race around and get home without crashing.
And we played this remotely, and it worked out really well. I mean, like you said, you just have to kind of specify what's left and what's right or braking or whatever. But it was a really easy, small thing we had to keep track of.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of components, not a lot of stuff. Exactly. It fits on the table sometimes.
Yeah, well, but you have to like move it and like pull it in.
Well, you have a recessed table, so that's get in there.
Yeah,
but it is
I think really nice.
I think it's a good way to get. Racing games are a really big thing for the the gaming community. I think it's a good way to get something with one copy that's a little easier to see than like Formula D, which is much.
Yeah, it's a huge board.
To look at, and it would be so much harder to be like, move it a little to the left. So yeah, that it makes it's like Whitechapel to Whitehall. Very
That's a good example.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. But I mean, and it's you have cards in your hand that are private, but all the information is on the top, which in a card holder is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when there's pertinent information at the bottom of the card where you stick it into the card holder.
Cough, cough, Red Rising.
I'm always like, cough, cough,
yeah, but Red Rising has their own card holders.
They did. They solved their own problem. They have clear card holders. But like any other games who haven't done that, we're like, Liz, can you pick up our...
my number 3 card?
3? Just pick it up. Don't play it. Okay, Kitty, you're kicking off halfway point.
Yeah.
Really quick sidebar. I really want to play Snowtails again. Actually.
Yeah, super cool. It actually got me way more into the racing genre than I ever used to be because of that.
Okay, so my number 5 is a game I always want to play, and I would love to say, can we play again right now?
Whitechapel.
I was like, which hidden deduction?
Right.
This time.
It's not that. It is Perfume.
Oh, okay.
Perfume.
Another one that we played as the side without the copy first. And another one where we just used that system of sort of having a little chart for the D6s without having the copy. And we got just as into it the first times, even without the copy.
So, speaking of underrated games, I believe we are going to be doing an underrated top 10 at some point. And I have a feeling this one will be on all of our lists.
I'll forget about it.
I think
it's not going to be on my list just because of this conversation.
I think this game is criminally underrated.
I do too.
But I know why. Because very rarely in a game store would I walk by a game about making perfume and go, oh, I'm going to check that one out.
It is a really unique theme, though. Like, it's one that you don't see.
I'm not disparaging the theme. I'm just saying.
But it's not something you think about often.
In the grand scheme of themes that any of us like, Kitty's doesn't go deception, perfume. Perfume would be a lot further down.
And yours is like nature perfume.
No, or horror perfume.
I would like to see more with this theme, though.
I agree. I think I think it really gives you that customer satisfaction thing that a lot of games have. That
especially in like video games, like all of those like customer service video games that are kind of addictive, and you're like, why is this addictive? You know, but it's like
this is one of the early versions of games we use the dice chart for.
Yeah, exactly.
For successes or fails, because certain numbers are successes and certain are fails.
Yeah, and it helped feel immersed in it so much more, and it's sort of I'm not as much, I feel like, as into Press Your Luck in general, like, as you two. Like, I mean, I love it, but I don't think it's, like, my very top. But this one, like, the Press Your Luck element to it, I just adore. And I remember even with the D6s, it was so exciting.
Yeah, and I like how the Press Your Luck nature is integrated into what ingredients you really do need to fulfill your contracts and all this other, you know what I mean? It's not like that's just the gameplay. Which, don't get me wrong, like Ink and Gold is one of my favorite Press Your Luck games. Which, what's that called now?
Diamonds. I actually think it was originally Diamant, then became Ink and Gold, and now it's Diamants again. I'm not sure on all of that.
Gotcha.
We have ink and gold, and that would be another good one for one copy only if I'm not spoiling someone else's list.
It's that game is strictly about pressure luck, so I think that it gives you that little sprinkle of pressure luck without it making it all about that.
Yeah, it's just like a little spice on top.
That's a good pick. We've played this game way too many times.
So you want to play it again?
It is a really good one.
I guess it's that or Mysterium. You can't get everything you want, can you? Okay, my number 5 is Ethnos.
Oh, hey!
Ashamed of yourself. So, speaking of
underrated,
speaking of perfume, judging a book by its cover, I would not look at this game twice. It looks like a dude bro explosion.
Extravaganza.
It looks like...
I had to force you guys to play it because of the cover. Like, I had to convince you to play it with me. I was like, this is so good. This is so amazing. You guys have to play it.
The name should be Mask for Mask, bro. Like, it's so not what it seems like. You get the board on the table. The board is light, airy, open. The cards have pretty art on them.
Pretty little map.
Great colorful pieces. It's not that brown blob of fighting.
Yeah, like, I could play pink.
So,
which is awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's a nice, juicy area control. Now, this is something that is one of our favorites, but I feel like this game distills it down into this really compact package that really makes it seem like it moves really fast, too. We utilized, yet again, one of the things Liz has already held up, the dry erase tokens. One thing that you may think might be more difficult during gameplay of this is you actually stack your little personal color tokens to claim a spot. Whoever has the most stacked gets the location. And so Liz would kindly just write the number of how many was stacked there of someone else's. So if Liz had 3 in the area, she'd write a little 3 on a token beside her stack. And then I would know that I would have to beat 3. So it's a little hack that can make something that might be difficult with one person having a copy much easier for gameplay.
Yeah.
So super fulfilling. I just was backseating one day, like you were talking about, watching them play, and then I decided to jump in and play with them. I didn't have a copy. It was so... Did you play that day? You didn't. The first day, right? When you played
the first time I played it was with Jerome, and it was just the 2 of us. He actually requested it. We played it 4 times that night.
No, the...
the first time, I was...
When you played it with the group that came over. Got it.
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
so,
work friends. Yeah,
so that was that easy to just jump in. I was like, let's just play this. Like, this looks not hard. And super, super, super quick learning curve. Very easy set collection. Each group has their own power. Like, for instance, the wizards let you keep cards in your hand, I think, or something like that. The mermaids let you move up on a track. So it's really cool, really easy, and I think you should check it out if you like area control. It will take you by surprise. It has become one of my absolute favorite games of all time, and I never would have given it a second glance because of that blob of a cover.
And speaking of playing with a group, it's another one that I feel like is really good at, like, 2 to the full player count.
Yeah, I think it's 2 to 8, and we played it, 6 players that one time?
We've played it with 2, so like...
2 players has been awesome, too.
And it's never felt unbalanced, so check it out.
Yes. Okay, so my number 5 pick is a cooperative game.
Ooh.
It is not Pandemic, though.
I was gonna say, you already said that wasn't on there, so did you lie to us?
This is another one, but it has all public information and a fairly nice sized board, and you're rolling dice, which makes it more immersive for all sides, which is why each stat is Atlantis Rising.
I backed that thanks to the playthrough you did with us, which you only have a copy and we did not.
Yeah, it's been on my table a lot of times. It is so much fun, and it's just a really immersive feel. when you can, on the sides without a copy, roll the dice yourself to try to get the resources. So it's a way to keep everyone even more involved.
Yeah, exactly. I love it when it's a big, kind of sprawling, beautiful game like that, and you can make the other people feel like they have it or some semblance of it, because they get to roll the dice on their turn, and they really feel like they're interacting. So,
yeah, you feel like a part of it.
Yeah. Really such a good game. I went all in on that sucker in the last campaign.
Good. I only had to go in for the expansion.
Can't wait to get it.
Yes. Hopefully soon.
Kate.
So my number 4, we're kind of in the portion of my list that's like, okay, how to learn that your friends are telling the truth with the honor system, because we are on Spyfall. So that was my number 4 pick. Yes. Again, it's a game that I did not have a copy when you first taught it to me. And I'd already been, like, watching videos of it or whatever, like, you know, but it was so much fun.
Exactly.
And it's so easy without a copy. You just need, like, either a list or a photo of all the possible locations if you don't have the copy. And then from there, you just show the cards or take photos for people.
100%. So for both versions, there's 2 now, right?
There's Spyfall 2, Time Travel, and DC.
Time Travel's the one we don't have.
The one we don't have.
But the centerfold is almost always the layout of all the different locations. Mm-hmm. Take a picture of each page, send it to whoever's playing, everyone who's playing, so everyone can have a reference. It's that easy. Yeah. And I want to touch on something that Kitty said, which is actually one of the biggest aspects of playing remotely.
Oh, yeah, it's like a touch
honor system. And it sounds like something you wouldn't have to cover, but it's something that's exploited during remote play that you don't really have to deal with, because you're never fondling someone else's hand of cards when you're in the room together. So when Liz has to show us cards, or we have to hold cards up for Liz, you have to avert your eyes from the screen. You have to not look. We play Love Letter all the time, and you need to get used to telling the other person, I saw that card, I saw the color of that card. Let's just reshuffle real quick. It's that easy.
Yeah, and not, going, oh, well, they can't really see my hands because they're out of the screen, and I'm just going to choose which card I want to show them based on the circumstance.
100%.
Right.
100%.
Which we have played with someone that likes to do that.
So what you want to do, and they're celebrating your pick, Kitty.
I was like, what on earth is that? Was that fire? Oh, goodness. I could hear that.
So, yeah, New York sounds is like a thing we can hardly always get rid of it. But yeah, we can notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they sound like they're going right outside your window.
They are.
I'm excited about Spyfall.
I mean, it is a good pick.
Yeah, it is.
If you don't mind if I continue while the fireworks go, to emphasize my point, when you have to hold up who's a spy and who's not in the very beginning of the game, it's important to kind of count off, find practices that make it feel balanced and even for everybody. What we do is we'll hold up the cards for everybody. So let's say this is the spy card. I'm holding it up to show Liz what her character is. We'll go, well, close her eyes, 3, 2, 1. Mm-hmm. So everybody has the same amount of time looking at their cards. And it's not like I hold up the spy card and she goes, okay, got it, because it just says spy on it.
Right. And I mean, that we've even adapted for in-person play.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
It just helps if you're not as good or not as willing to play deduction.
When you're playing with that new player who's never been the spy before, and all of us are looking at our identity cards, and they pick it up, see the word spy, and put it right back down.
That does happen.
Instituted the 5-second rule. We're like, everybody, you look at your card for the count of 5. So yeah, that's a good pick, Kitty.
Yes, very good pick.
My fave.
So somebody already took my thunder, but I guess my thunder is better than your thunder because it's higher up on my list. My next one is Euphoria. So we can double down on making Liz feel terrible.
It's a really great game. I seriously think I made this list before we played it.
Okay, whatever you say. It is seriously one of the best games we have played in a long time. And I'm getting kind of annoyed with all of Stonemaier games being that, because I'm really sick of knowing I'm going to have to just buy every single game they ever put out.
I like that. That's like one publisher. Can you imagine if like Fantasy Flight did that? They like release 20 games a second.
Because every single time I see a game, I'm like, I know I'm going to have to get it because I know it's going to be amazing. But this is another example. Mm-hmm. Amazing resource management. So cool. I mean, it was neck and neck when we played our last game, and it was such a fun fight, and you couldn't forecast who was going to win up until the last second. It was so much fun.
Yeah, it was. I won by one turn, and like you had the ability to get it on your next turn.
And like Kitty said when it was her pick earlier, there's not much that you have to pay attention to. It's the board. Liz had the camera facing the board, and she would move our resources for us, and it was that easy. Kitty even kept a tally of her resources and stuff. So, like...
Dang!
Super easy to keep track of. There's nothing... I literally just sat there like this and was like, what do I think Liz is going to do next? What do I think Kitty's going to do?
And then rolled your dice occasionally.
My dice. Such an easy, adaptable, one person has a copy remote play game.
Can I add this as my honorary pick?
Absolutely not. You know what? If you want to add it, we are nixing your 1 through 3.
Oh, burn.
So.
No. Okay, well, my number 4, it's actually one of the very few roll and write types that I like. It's actually a flip and write. But you can either send people the boards or send people a copy of the boards, and they can laminate it because the boards actually come laminated, or, well, that whiteboard texture.
Yep.
And it is Kokoro, Avenue of the Kodama.
Such a cool route builder.
Yeah, you get to, like, just draw lines on it, and the cards are labeled 1 through 6, so just knowing which ones they are, and you can easily draw it, or you could even just draw out a grid if you're Kitty.
Absolutely. But absolutely, there's very little you have to do. We actually played this remotely with her mom, and her mom didn't have a copy.
Nice.
And she just had it on the iPad. That's it. She drew tracks with her finger, and we had preemptively sent her... I took a picture of the board, and then I took a picture of the 1 through 6, what the cards looked like, and just superimposed it at the bottom of the board. So she had an all-in-one board that had the grid of the pictures on it. And
I thought the boards had the 1 through 6 on them.
They do, but they're small, so I blew it up bigger.
Oh, gotcha.
So it was like a big section of the board. So you could just quickly look. I'm like, we flipped to 3. It's like, okay, cool. So such a nice little...
And it almost feels like very... abstract strategy as well.
Yeah, really... I think that's one of the reasons why I like it. Is like you have to really think about where you want to place the routes.
For sure.
Yep, with a bit of luck too, with when the final golden card is...
Heck yeah, I get stressed when you're flipping that crap, and I'm like, please be a right elbow. Please be a right elbow.
Yeah.
Good pick. A really inclusive pick, too, because you can play this with brand spanking new...
I've played it with my dad's side of the family at a Thanksgiving.
And I have played this and 5 other of our roll and write games remotely with someone who has never played tabletop games. Nice. So it's one of the best.
Yeah, it's such a great pick.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
So my number 3, I feel like is going to be on all of our lists, but then Lizzy, you said that about Parade, and it wasn't. So who knows?
Or Euphoria.
Right? Yeah, Euphoria. But it is Love Letter, and specifically the Archer Love Letter.
Liz, I'm kind of writing this to make you feel really bad about yourself. I don't have Love Letter or Parade on my list, so
I don't have Love Letter on my list.
But
I agree. This is totally a 1-copy game.
Good thing we didn't all gamble, because I was like, I know it's going to be on one of their lists, so I'm just not going to pick it.
Wow.
Well, one of the reasons I picked it was because it was another one that I was taught remotely without a copy, and so much fun. I know I tell that story all the time, but I had a crappy night at the game convention or the game meetup. And
she went to a game meetup. There were really rude people trying to teach her 7 wonders.
Yeah, I've heard some horror stories with that game.
And so we'll cleanse your palate. We got you.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. And I probably really burned you out at first because we must have played it like 10 times.
Are you kidding me? You know how many times we played Love Letter?
We played it so much that his Countess, the number 7 card, got a little scratch in it, and we couldn't play it. Because I could tell when the 7 card was in his hand.
And we have every version ever made, and I'm very excited for the new one you just sent us.
Yes, it's Princess and Princess. It's LGBT friendly, and it like the number 8 is a unicorn. It looks like I'm really excited for it.
This is going to be really embarrassing, but I just have to spit out. I almost teared up when I saw it because like it's one of our favorite games, and to be just blatantly inclusive
is amazing.
Awesome. The only thing that I think it could get better on would be to take the Archer mechanics instead of base Love Letter mechanics.
Archer, the reason you'll always see on our Love Letter, we almost always will put Archer up. It's our absolute favorite because the mechanics are just, they feel like they've been so enriched.
Yeah. You interact with the card that's out versus none of the other ones do that. And that's what we love so much.
Yeah, and plus also huge Archer fan. Like huge fan of
you guys are. I've watched some of it. It's interesting. I liked it.
You're about to get banned from this channel. Do you want ants? Because that's how you get ants.
I mean, the back of my phone, everybody, right?
Oh, R.I.P.
I know.
Anyway, yeah, fantastic pick. And it's what we introduce everyone to. Any gamer, anybody.
Any non-gamer.
Any non-gamer, that's what I meant. Any non-gamer that every game night we're like, Love Letter?
Yeah, and it's surprisingly thinky at how many, like the background, the mantra or whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? Like the game thinking.
Yes.
I forget.
It is surprisingly deep, and it is the very, very first tabletop game I ever played.
Oh, wow.
I usually don't count it because it's not a board game, but it's the very first thing that my dear friend Adam, my dear friends Adam and Don in California introduced me to. And I was like, what is happening? What is this?
What is this new world?
Yeah.
I was really bad the first few rounds, but I'm not really bad anymore.
Yeah. I know. You are manipulative. And sneaky.
Okay. My number 3, we're on 3, that's crazy, is kind of similar to one of the other ones I mentioned, but it feels so different that I had to include it. Emotep. We played the crap out of this game.
Yes.
So fantastic. Has a lot of elements that we've mentioned in a lot of other games, but I feel like it kind of combines them really well. Again, with not a lot of overhead. There's very little rules overhead. Just sending the kind of rules for each section, like, you know, the temple or the obelisk or things like that. Sending the rules of how that works or a screenshot of how that works is a really easy workaround for someone who doesn't have a copy. And they can just, you know, they can use dice to stack in their temple or whatever. You can come up with any kind of creative way to make it work for the person who doesn't have a copy.
Exactly.
And you know, there's not a lot of mechanic, like moving parts overhead either. So if you want like kind of a light strategy within little time, you can pick this for sure.
Yeah, and it's again, it's a light strategy that feels
deep,
very deep. So it's one of our favorites.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of cool when you do play it remotely. The wall that you're building, you're only looking at the top one. So if you have an on direct camera, you can actually see it a little bit clearer than you could in person.
Yeah, that's perfect because you cover up stuff. So, and you have to look down at it. So yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, so play it remotely. Don't play it in person.
Yeah, don't play games in person.
Play like us.
Exactly.
Don't worry, Kitty. We're in person.
Okay, so my number 3 is a story-driven game. It is one that we have played with me only having a copy. Unfortunately, you will want to, if you are interested in it, get it now. Z-Man is reprinting it one last time, and then they're going to be doing away with it.
Tales?
Yes, Tales of Arabian Nights.
That is news to me.
It's so good, though.
It is so
Yeah,
good.
but that's what I've heard is they're reprinting it one time and that's it, and then it's gonna go away. So,
well, when you got Britsby his copy for his birthday that one time, wasn't it really hard to get then?
Yeah, it's been hard to get for a while. So people are like really wanting, and then like Ancient of Smersh just went on, which is a different version of it, different theme. Went on Kickstarter, but is super, super expensive, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was gonna back it to Surprise Kitty, but I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was just above what I could really allow myself. Yeah. So, but I mean, it's really great. We have had to hack it because it is very heteronormative. So you will want to keep that in mind, but you could just pronouns, change it to where you feel comfortable. And then just enjoy the game. And we do rectify, because like, if your sex changed, you can't win the game. But we rectify that by, if you aren't in the proper gender, then you need to go through the sex change. So going through that would be what would make it so that you could win the game, was making it so that you are in your appropriate gender for you.
Yeah, if you haven't heard of this game or know about it, there's a mechanic in it that changes your character, changes their gender.
Yeah, I think it's just a card or an encounter that you could go through.
Yeah, it's a really rare encounter too.
Yeah.
We didn't like that. The fact that you experienced that meant you couldn't win, and we didn't like that.
Exactly.
If you were a female character, you could not choose to, beguile or date or whatever the options were. The female witch or temptress or whatever across, or vice versa, because we have a lot of different sexualities in our gaming group, and you got two fruits right here. So honorary members at your service. So it's an easy hack, and we don't let that stop us. If a game is offensive, that's one thing, but if a game just seems like they didn't have queer people on the creative team, or maybe
I know, like, it's set in that world where homosexuality is very frowned upon.
But you know what's our starting point whenever we have this conversation with any game is, if this can exist, magic or golems or
wing folk,
whatever. If this can exist, then this small tweak means nothing. And in our world, this is our game now. It's our world now. We can make it whatever we want it to be.
And it feels kind of empowering when we do come across an encounter and we're like, ooh, I mean, like all of the examples you've given, as well as, there's a few times where it's like, well, if you're a woman, this awful thing is going to happen to you. But if you're a man, and some of those too. But like whatever, when any of them comes up, we just have a great time Xing out the offensive stuff.
Exactly. And then we get to play a little mini game where we brainstorm what we think is a great outcome or a great, reaction, or we reword it in there, and it's fun to us. So it doesn't bother us.
Right.
And we love the game. We honor the game, but we also honor our own ethics and perspectives. So
and our own lives.
Yeah.
I mean,
our own loved ones.
Exactly.
Good pick, Liz. We've had so much fun with that. Well, some of us have. Some of us just constantly spend the whole game ensorcelled.
You have had really bad luck.
Work, and Lizzy and I finished playing as you. You won.
For those of you who do not know what ensorcelled is, because you haven't played this game, it's when they get to take your turn for you.
Yes.
It's kind of amazing, and you really do get that like every time. And
I had real bad luck and I was ensorcelled for 75% of the game.
Yeah, and then there would be like the ones that we can make the decisions for you on what you do in each encounter.
But anyway, outside of the adjustments we said, Liz is super justified with this being a pick.
Yeah.
It's richly story-driven.
And it's so immersive. And if you don't have a copy, I mean, the copy's excellent, amazing, great. But without the copy, we were still just as enthralled with it.
Exactly. It's just a board with basic locations that you can look at and say, can you please move me to X?
Mm-hmm.
Read the story. That's it. Great pick.
Yeah, I love that game. Okay, so my number 2.
That was abrupt.
It's also a story-driven game, but in a different way.
Okay.
And this is one of my favorite games as well. Sherlock Holmes, the Consulting Detective.
Yes.
So I think this is the best of its type of games where it's just basically like, you get so many fulfilling components. You have the newspapers and everything and like the little phone directory.
I'm telling you what, we look like detectives
we do.
that have been working for like 80 hours straight. We'll have the bed, we'll have some Chinese on the bed and all of our stuff spread all over and like
it's like
maps.
a conspiracy theory board.
It's and you could easily take notes on the other side so that you're still okay, well, we're going to this place, this is what I'm getting from there, and you could be like the detective on the run.
Exactly.
And the nice thing is that the other person remotely does not have to have a copy. Liz could be kicked back on the couch with her feet up. We could send her a picture of the newspaper and be like, all right, we need to look through this directory. Kitty's going to look through this newspaper. You look through this newspaper. Mm-hmm. And she just, it's so fulfilling.
That's the other reason. It's very much like almost like a team-based exercise. Like it feels very like, you're collaborating together. Everything. It's just so cool and so immersive. And
I feel like your collaboration matters in this series of games because some of us will be harebrained and we'll go off and we'll be like following a dumb little trail, and the other person will rein us back in or be like, okay, let's just focus on this for a little bit.
And it's like, what that newspaper said.
Yeah, that red herring that we had 5 encounters ago.
Yeah.
Or if you're like me, you're like, I want to go here and here and here and here and here.
And meanwhile, it's like Sherlock figured this out in 4 clues.
4? 2 sometimes.
Yeah. He's ridiculous. Like, he knows exactly where to go.
Sherlock leaned out his window and figured this out. What have you been doing?
But it's like, meanwhile, as completionists, we want to go to like every location.
Yeah.
We question like the baker 5 towns over.
Just for fun. But yeah, and I also feel like if you don't have the copy, like Lizzy was saying, you can still feel a part of it because you are taking notes, etc. I mean, there's times when we played it where our notebook for it has gotten so thick it looks like it could be a component. Like,
exactly.
So, yeah.
Yeah, super easy for someone, maybe that person that's remoting is into that. They want to take notes or they want to be the reader. They want to. It's so easy to divvy up the tasks in that game. So.
And it also doesn't feel like a tabletop game. So if somebody is into that genre of mystery, things like that, maybe you could introduce them to it.
Yeah, they can get a cork board and put the pictures up, all of that. Do little things.
See, if you guys can guess my number 2, it's a game it was one of the very first that I was ever introduced to, and I was one of the very first I introduced to both of you.
Is it one of the Forbiddens?
It is one of the Forbiddens.
I was about to say, it was either Forbiddens or Hanabi.
Forbidden Desert.
Yes, this is a really good one.
Such a great implementation of this series. I have not played the Sky version yet, but I hear it's not near as welcoming or near as enriched.
It has its interesting moments, like you're going around connecting things, and like they have to be on the metal. They have to be on it, but it's
most reviews that I watched said it was gimmicky because of that, and that it lies too much on that, and that's all it really is. Whereas it's so funny because this game really introduced co-opness to all of us. It was one of the first that we sat down and really dove in to what it was like in co-op play. And it was the bare bones first. I'd never even heard of a co-op game, ever. Never. I didn't even know it was a genre. Back when I was a super noob and had never played anything besides Monopoly and Sorry and Hungry Hippos when I was a kid, Mousetrap. But it's like, wait, it's a game. We play together. You're on my team. We're all on the same team. And it was just, it's so fun. It's just so much fun. And we set crazy high difficulty levels now when we play it. And just, I don't know, it brings back that feeling of when we were first discovering gameplay, and what makes it easy with only one copy is you can really get somebody into it because it's such a small little grid. It's 5x5, right? It's 6x6 or something like that.
It's something like that. I don't remember.
So easy to choke the camera in on, and you either see a tile or you see that there's sand on top of it. So there's not a lot to have to look at and a few cards to flip. Everything's public because it's co-op. So a nice entry.
I love that game. I have so much nostalgia for it.
Yeah, right. It's really good. It's actually the first game I ever bought.
Yep, and even though we will go and we'll play tons of other games for a couple years or a year at a time and not play it, it still remains a favorite strictly because we know how it launched our gaming careers, or our geekdom.
It will definitely always have a special place.
Yes. Okay, what about your number 2?
Okay, so my number 2 is one that is actually a really new game. It's one that we have done a few things for. It's a nice little war game type of thing.
Oh,
is this one that Kitty's going to be ashamed she didn't include?
I think so, and it even made Kitty's top 10 games of all time.
Number 10, Old Salt?
Yes, it is Old Salt, which this one, we played with them having the only copy, which is unique. But we just lettered all the islands, and then we were just saying, okay, I want to move my ship on this island, and we used our hex movement thing, which I have right here.
Just to note, this game is not out yet. It will be launching on Kickstarter
in July.
In July of 2021, so this year. I don't know when you're watching this video.
So
back
in our Kickstarter, if you haven't already, but don't look it by. I feel like this one is one that people will easily look past.
It's so much more than what it is, and we've had the wonderful opportunity to speak with the creator multiple times.
Yes.
Tim, and it transcends what it is for us for some reason. It's a fleet war game. It's a fleet builder at the beginning. You have a set amount of money. You build your fleet. That's what you have for the rest of the game.
The most stressful shopping experience of your life.
And that's it. You play the rest of the game with your ships. You try to take over other islands. That's it. There's not a lot more to gameplay. Each ship has its own abilities and special types, but it, for some reason, transcends that for us. I do not like war games that much. I've never really been into them. This game swept me off my feet for that. I mean, it really, and what mechanic do we exploit in it that wasn't even really meant to be?
Yeah, negotiation, and I usually don't like negotiation in games, and I love it in this one.
It feels so thematic to it as well. You feel like it's part of the
making alliances, breaking them, switching teams. Like Kitty's trying to woo Liz. Liz is trying to convince me to stay on her side. Yeah. And if you don't blow my island up, and Tim, the creator's concern was that a 3-player game wouldn't be balanced because 2 people could just gang up on the one and then they could just duke it out. We found that we got the majority of our fun from trying to stay balanced and convince each other. And if it looked like someone was getting unbalanced, that person would just flip, attack a bunch, change alliances. It was so much fun.
Yeah. I love it. Such a good pick.
I really hope people check it out because it's something that I think could fly under the radar because we're like, oh, war game or all C game. It's so much more.
It is a really amazing game, and it would have been in my top 10. It's just I wasn't counting it because it wasn't a full production. And since Kitty included it in her top 10 of all time, I'm like, you know what? I can include it in this. It's a really easy one to play, and the gameplay is on the table. There's not a whole lot of rule overhead, which is always amazing. And you can customize the game. So like there's the set of rules that come in the game, and then there's like variants that will be like if you want a game for this specific, like if you want it to be more of this, you can do this type of thing.
They even let you pick how many coins your group wants at the beginning, which I think is amazing. I think when we all get our copies, knock on wood, we should get a just all-out battle where we get like 50 coins or something.
You just want to play the game for 5 hours.
It makes Kitty so vicious, too.
I know.
Oh, that's another good point, saying that about 5-hour gameplay. It's a relatively quick game because it has a timer system also.
Yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, with the trade wins.
With the trade wins, which is so cool. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Check it out when it's on Kickstarter, which is coming very soon.
Awesome pick. Okay,
yes.
So the one other thing about that one is it feels very story-driven, kind of RPG-ish, even though it's
We're number 1, aren't we?
We're at number 1.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, but she was talking about Old Salt being awesome.
Oh. Well, yeah, it is.
So, story-driven. That's my first hint for my number 1 guy.
Oh, I thought you were saying another thing for that one. So you're saying a thing for your number 1 is story-driven.
No matter what game we play, Kitty makes up a story for her characters.
I do.
Where they've been and what they ate for dinner. And
you're like it's Concordia. And I'm like, I don't care. I'm a winemaker. But anyway, it's story-driven. It's horror-themed.
Arkham Horror? No, that's not a solo copy.
Sorry, I had something in my throat.
Hey, for shame, bite your tongue. I
Look,
love
my hair got that comment. So
yeah, good. So, but no, I'm going from hardest to easiest. So it's a really easy game to switch to remote play, which is Grindhouse. So speaking of games,
criminally under the radar.
Yeah, we just got into like a YouTube vortex one day, Brixby and I, and like it just randomly came up on a random channel.
We're gonna tag the channel because it was a very good review of the game.
It was, and they did a playthrough of it too.
They did, and it made us fall in love with it. So much fun.
So this game, it's like 10, 15 minutes probably tops. I mean, I suppose maybe a little bit more if you were playing with more people. And it's just sort of 4 or so scenarios, 4 or 5 different rooms. And you have your hidden objective and your character.
Which is ridiculous most of the time.
And everybody's an awful person in this.
Terrible
and that's what
people.
makes it amazing.
Terrible people. Just terrible people. And you go through and you try not to just get eviscerated.
Unless that's your objective.
That is an objective for some people.
Yeah. So, like, this is one where, like, you can lose an arm or a leg or...
You flip your arm over and you can grow an arm back in some circumstances. But, we just had the most uproarious fun time with this. We played it with her mom without a copy. We played it with Liz without a copy. Yeah, her mom and dad. We played it... So, non-gamers. And, well, her mom's kind of a gamer. But, her dad's not. And we played it with Liz. So, we hit the spectrum. We hit... gamer, mid-gamer, and non-gamer.
And even at 2 players, which normally a game like that you would think wouldn't be fun at 2 players, but we found it quite fun.
We played it back to back like 15 times. It's ridiculous. It's quick. If you really want to laugh, if you're drunk, if you're just hanging with your friends, whatever you're doing, if you just want to fly through this fun little ridiculous scenario and lose a couple limbs and try to push other people, and you bet which order you encounter these encounters. So, like, let's say there's a room with a creepy baby doll on the floor staring at you, and then you all have to discuss who's going to go in first. And then you order yourself, and then the things that happen in a random order, and you have no idea what's going to happen.
No, and there's quite a bit of variety in the room.
So whoever goes first could get something great. Whoever goes last could lose a leg. So, like, it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and in terms of remote play, besides just, taking photos if the person remote wants to be the one to read, other than that, there's just a couple times where they might need a D6.
Exactly. That's it.
It's like so easy. Like literally,
It was a lot of fun. I agree.
Criminally underrated. Okay, so my number 1 is one that is not one of my favorite games of all time, but I really love it. It's like probably sits around an 8.5 or 9, but it's so much fun to play remotely, even if you don't have a copy. Actually, we have played it more without a copy, even though we have it, than with a copy.
Oh.
Liz?
Don't offhand. I
It
feel
is way.
Oh my God! Yes, because of Shut Up and Sit Down.
So shut up and shut up and sit down. Airs has aired a few playthroughs of a couple now, right? Of this, and you can play along with it, and it's just so much fun, and illustrates just how easily this game can be to do remotely. Whoever has the game just needs to prop it. They don't even need a face-down camera.
No.
Just a camera that's facing them like this. Their laptop, you literally just need them to see the wheel. That's it. That's
it.
They just need to see the wheel, and you rotate it, even if you want to be the one that picks where the wheel stops and stuff like that and give the hints and things like that. It's a hot or cold type of situation. Like, let's say, so if you don't know about the game, you get this half circle, and
it'll land on
a certain space. So let's say the target is here. So and then you have two metrics. So let's say the metrics we chose were hot and cold. So cold is the one closest to where we're at, and hot is the furthest away, right?
Yeah.
So the person giving the clue has to try to make them land here. So if cold is over here and I want you to get it kind of here, I'll be like, I wouldn't say popsicle because you would guess it would be the coldest. And I wouldn't say the Sahara Desert because you would guess it would be the hottest. So it's so much fun to play with people and try. And it's the main part of the game is just talking and laughing and joking and coming up with why you're picking this as what it is.
Kind of like Grindhouse or something like that. It's another one that's a really fun, quick game to just have, if you're having a party or things like that. It's really cool.
Well, like Liz said, if you're having to do a remote date, or you're hanging out with a relative or a friend that you haven't got to see in a while, and you just want to get a game in, you want to talk, you want to have fun, it's a really quick one. So much fun. Really fulfilling.
Oh, yeah. Love it.
I haven't even actually played this one, so...
Sits at my number one is because you do not even have to have a camera facing the table. So you don't even have to, you literally can pop your computer open and sit it right here or hold it. It doesn't matter. So that's the reason it sits there. So it's a really nice, accessible, it's really nice and accessible for people.
And kind of like Spyfall or some other ones like that. You don't even necessarily need to keep track of points if you don't want to. It's just one to have fun with.
Exactly. So much fun.
Makes sense. Well, my number one would probably be a little bit more than that then. Because you do have to have the camera pointed at the table.
That's okay.
It's a grid one, but the piece that moves is just one piece between both players. It is a 2-player only game. So...
This is the one we got Kitty addicted to, isn't it?
I think so. So you'll move the piece, and then you'll place one of your pieces down, and then you'll try to move it, and you'll try to get to where there's no other legal moves left, and then you win based on who has the most points.
I think Kitty guessed it.
Rose Kid?
Yeah.
Yes. Did you look at it?
When I was pulling up the picture for the graphic there, I didn't realize how old this game is.
How old is it?
It's like 93 or something, right?
Oh, wow.
I don't remember. It's a fairly old game. I mean, it was back when Cosmos 2-player games were the hotness.
That's awesome. I had no idea it was that old. This is one of my favorite 2-player abstracts.
And to me, it didn't even necessarily feel like an abstract. I, sometimes shied away from abstracts before, but I just fell in love with this one.
It has a tug of war feel to it a little bit. I don't even think that's classified in the mechanics, but it feels kind of tug of war because you are using, like Liz said, the same main piece. What a smart pick for one, because there's literally... You're just looking at this one board in one piece.
Yeah, and then you have your cards that point to the ways that they can move.
Exactly.
And it's super simple to give instructions to somebody.
Yep, left, right, up, down.
Yeah, I'll play my number 3 card.
Yep.
And just move it. And they're visible, too, so it's not like it's a hidden card.
And the player pieces are super easy to see, too. You have white and red, so...
Yeah. really accessible.
Such a good game. We haven't played that in a while. It's one of my favorites.
Me too.
Love
me
it.
too.
Yeah, it is very enjoyable.
Oh my gosh, we're done.
Yes, that is the end. Thank you for sticking around.
If anyone did. Thanks, Mom.
Okay, now that probably nobody's left watching, can I say a joke I've been thinking of
Thanks,
the whole time?
Liz, for watching it while you edit it.
You're welcome. And subscribe.
Subscribe, and I would just like to say that all of these games
This joke better be worth it.
will make you feel like you're in the room where it happens. Hamilton?
That's only a joke if we had some other Hamilton reference to make it make sense.
Okay, so maybe I just think about Hamilton all the time. Whatever.
Okay, you want to go ahead and close this out, Kitty?
All this is doing is proving why you should play remotely and not in the room with the person. Because you can't get away if you're in the room with the person.
True, I could just pull out my earbuds and walk away. Why didn't I think of that sooner?
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, Kitty,
That's all I had to say.
we've successfully made it through another one.
We have, and I'm so excited. So until next time, just remember to have fun.
Be present.
And be you. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to us. We would love to hear from you. Also, if you find value in our content, please like, comment, or subscribe. Let a friend or family member know that we exist. Help us spread our channel and bring remote gaming to a table near you. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
And try remote gaming. It's awesome.
You'll like it.
Don't be a remote hater.